Before we start, I want to let you guys know that a lot of the photos that you see online are heavily processed. You can see on the screen right now, these are two of the Milky Way photos I shot, but they're heavily processed. Here is an example of how it should look naturally. My point is that you should not be fooled by the photos that you see online, and instead your Milky Way shot should look like this, straight out of camera. Remember, this is a shot that is straight out of camera with no edits at all. Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. Today I'll be teaching you how to photograph the Milky Way, and this will be very beginner friendly. I'll be teaching you guys everything from preparation, equipment, setting up, settings, and editing. If you're looking for more advanced tutorials in the future, I'll be releasing videos on stacking and star reduction, so keep tuned for that. And if you want to see how I edit the Milky Way, I have a video on that already. So today we're just going to be teaching how to get started with the Milky Way, what you need to do in order to get started. The first step to prepare for the Milky Way is to find a dark enough location. I like to use darksightfinder.com to tell me where light pollution is. You can use any app, but Dark Sight Finder is a good free resource that I use. So if we zoom in here, you can see that the city of Los Angeles is very light polluted. These red and orange areas, light gray areas, all indicate that these areas are way too light polluted and you cannot see the stars clearly at night. I've shot a couple Milky Way shots in the yellow areas, but I wouldn't recommend because I still think there's too much light pollution. The green and blue areas and these dark gray areas are areas that you want to go in order to see the stars more visibly. The next thing to prepare for is the moon, and the moon can really mess up your shot because it's so bright in the sky that you can't even see the Milky Way very clearly anymore. And on camera it's even worse because it just overexposes the image and you can't even see the Milky Way at all. So my advice to you would be to shoot when it's a new moon or when there's no moon at all, meaning that the moon is below the horizon. You can use this site timeanddate.com to see when the next new moon is and plan accordingly. Another suggestion that I like to do, well, I do this more often, is to use this app called Skyview to see the moon's location. From this app, I'm able to see when the moon sets, when the moon is visible in the sky, and I can plan on days that would be like a quarter moon or full moon, and I can still shoot the Milky Way because the moon hasn't come out yet. Also, make sure to check the weather before you go. If there are clouds that may obstruct your view of the Milky Way. I remember a couple times before I went, I didn't check the weather, and as a result, there was clouds blocking the Milky Way, making it very unfortunate. So make sure to check the weather before you go. What you should be looking for is a clear night sky. The last thing to prepare for is the time of year. If you didn't know that the Milky Way is not always visible, especially in months such as January or December, you cannot see the Milky Way. From my experience, the best time of year to shoot the Milky Way is from April all the way to August. That gives you a clear dark sky where you can just relax and shoot the Milky Way. Anytime before that, such as March, you might conflict yourself with the sunrise. There might be light in the way of the Milky Way, and anytime after August, like September, there still might be the sunset when the Milky Way is out already. Let's talk about equipment. So there are 3 pieces of equipment that I use to shoot the Milky Way. Yes, only 3. A tripod, a wide angle lens, and a camera. So a tripod is essential. This is what you need for a long exposure. You need a tripod, a sturdy tripod, so you can shoot a long exposure. Most of your shots are going to be around 20 seconds, so if you try to handhold that, that's impossible. The second thing you need is a wide angle lens. I know a lot of people shoot on the kit lens, which is totally fine, but in order to maximize the range, since the Milky Way is very long, you want to maximize the range, you want to use a wide angle lens. Also, having a lens with a low aperture, a low f-stop, will also help as well, because this decreases the shutter speed as much as possible. If we have too long of a shutter speed, we'll have star trails, which you can see on the screen right here. Even if I zoom into right here, you can see these stars start to have trails, and this is what we want to avoid. The last thing you need is a camera body. Obviously, we're going to be mounting the lens onto the body, but a lot of people say that the camera body matters, although in expensive cameras with larger sensors, you get less noise. We can use stacking to fix that, and that's a technique that we'll be looking at later on. But just to get started, any camera body, any entry level, any phone, honestly too, can get you started. And I think all these tools that we have available today are very, very capable. Currently, I'm using a Canon EOS R with a Laowa 15mm f2, but in the past, I have used the Canon 60D with the Tokina 11-16 2.8, and both of these cameras do a fantastic job of capturing the Milky Way. Let's talk a little bit about setting up. I use Skyview once again to tell me where the general location of the Milky Way is. All you have to do is open up the app and look into the sky, and it'll give you a virtual reality view of the sky of where the Milky Way is. Point your camera that direction and we can start shooting. Next, you want to make sure that your stars are in focus. You can do this by turning your lens into manual focus and turning the dial all the way to infinity so that your stars are in focus. If your lens does not have a focus ring that has numbers on it, such as the kit lens, you want to make sure you go into live view, zoom in until you can see the stars, and then focus it until you see the stars becoming sharper and sharper. Always double check that your stars are in focus. Before you shoot, you might move around and bump the focus ring a little bit, so always make sure to double check. You can do this by going into live view, zooming all the way in to a star and making sure it's sharp. Now you may be wondering, what settings should I use in my camera? So the first thing I want to say to you is to use RAW mode. RAW mode will help so much with editing. The second thing is to set your ISO to around 3200 or 6400. These are good starting values because the night sky is very dark. You want to use a higher ISO. In darker places such as this image right here, you want to use ISO 6400. In areas with a little bit more light pollution, 3200 will work. So there's also a rule called the 500 rule I want to talk about. It's basically where you take the number 500 and divide it by your focal length, and that gives you your shutter speed. I think this is a good starting rule, but I think the number 400 is better for this rule. So instead of 500 divided by my focal length, I would have 400 divided by my focal length. So in my case, I use a 15mm lens. So 400 divided by 15, I get around 26.6 seconds for my shutter speed. Keep in mind, if you use a crop sensor, an APS-C camera, that you have to take account of the crop factor into this formula. So if I use a Canon SL3, which the crop factor is times 1.6, and if I use an 11mm lens, then the formula would be 400 divided by parentheses 11 times 1.6, and I get a shutter speed of around 22.72 seconds. Alright, so this is how the image looks straight out of camera of my Canon EOS R. You can see that, it's not very vibrant, it looks pretty dull, but I'm going to be showing you guys a couple editing tips that I use to make it pop a little bit more. Remember that these are just going to be basic edits. If you want a full comprehensive editing guide to make it look very saturated, more Instagramming look, I have a whole tutorial on this, but today I'm going to be making it look more natural. Okay, so the first thing is that the sky is very, very red for some reason, and I like to just decrease the temperature. And that looks good. All right, we're not going to be messing with the exposure. I think we can add a little bit of contrast. Definitely some highlights. We can decrease the shadows, and I really want to bring out the whites. Right, but this is the area right over here. These are the whites over here. The blacks I'm not going to be messing with too much, but I think adding clarity gives us that nice punch that we need. All right. I think we can also increase the saturation by a little bit. There we go. And for the curve, I really want to bring out these white areas. So I'm going to just increase the whites a little bit. And I'm going to add an anchor point to make sure that my entire image is not affected. Next, we're going to move down to luminance. I just want to increase these yellow tones over here. So I'm going to increase the luminance of those. So you can see how much it's being affected here, right? Right, so before and after. Right, we really brought out these colors here. All right, make sure you have lens corrections on. I used Venus Optics 15mm. So I think this looks way too flat, so I think around 30 looks good. There we go. All right, and that's all for basic adjustments. We're going to move on to custom dodging and burning now. So the idea here is to brighten these areas and darken these areas over here. I think these dark areas can use a little bit more darkness and these bright areas can use a little bit more glow. So let's do that. Go into your adjustment brush. So we're going to start off with the bright areas, probably by 0.3, and then make sure that your auto mask is on. And we're just going to brush over the bright areas. Alright, so let's see our mask. That looks pretty good. Before, after, you can see that there's a lot more glow. Alright, so we're going to do the opposite for another mask. We're going to be decreasing the exposure. So let's do a little bit darker because you can see that these areas are very gray. So let's go ahead and zoom in. You can take as long as you need for this, but for the sake of the video, I'm going to be doing it very fast, just to give you an idea of what to do. Alright, so you can see this is the before and after. Before and after. Alright everyone, that's it for this video. We went from this to this, and I think it's a lot better. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. I worked really hard on this project. It took me about 3 months to make, and I would really appreciate if you subscribe to my channel. If you have any questions or any video recommendations, feel free to drop it down below. And as always, thank you for watching.